There we go. So I am going to record this session, Greg. I hope you don't mind because I'm already doing it. But I have the pleasure to welcome Gregg Larson. This is really a treat for us. Greg is a frequent speaker for CoreLogic. He works for CoreLogic. He's a frequent speaker at many of the national conferences that Nicole and Shelby and I get to attend, and the MyBoard staff get to attend. And you know, we have conversations coming back from those national conferences of this is such a great amount of content that we get to listen in on. How in the world can we distribute this and make sure that our members are involved in the conversation as well? And sometimes that's a struggle, trying to take all of that and filter through what's relevant and what's not, and make sure we get this in front of you. So I was at a conference earlier, or I guess last year now, where Greg spoke about AI and iBuyers. And as we continue hearing the conversation surrounding the iBuyer trend and what is going on with this in the nation and how does it affect our local market area, I asked Greg to join in on that because he really has a good handle on the national perspective as well as just the trend in general. So I'm going to kick it over to Greg. I'm going to move, hi again. I'm going to move his little video over so that we can see his screen a little bit better. And I'll pass it over to you. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Good morning or good afternoon. It's still morning, huh? Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Gregg Larson. I'm coming live from Las Vegas this morning, and I'm happy to share some information with you about iBuyers, a couple other tech trends. A lot of this is centered around computers and artificial intelligence and how it's impacting real estate as we know it today, residential real estate. So I'll jump right in and start explaining a few things. There's a few major technology trends. I'm sure you've all heard about 5G phones and virtual reality and blockchain. And all these things are out there and they've been big trends for the last couple of years. But AI, or artificial intelligence, sometimes called machine learning, is really impacting real estate right now and the whole world. It's the biggest trend in the world. All the programmers, all the tech companies are focused on it. And we'll see how it applies to real estate. This is an example of artificial intelligence on a train. This girl is in Copenhagen riding a train that was designed by Hitachi. There's 34 of these city trains that run up to 60 miles an hour, and there are 0 drivers. These are completely robotic trains. They're run by artificial intelligence. Some of you have heard, I'm sure, of the Internet of Things, IoT, where there's sensors everywhere. Well, you can bet there's hundreds of thousands of sensors around the city of Copenhagen, measuring how fast these trains are going. They're always on time, obviously. They know how they adjust the load balance, the demand, how many trains are running at midnight versus 3 p.m. because they know exactly how many people are standing at each stop waiting. And so it's saving this city or the country millions of dollars a year to have their train system completely automated and driven by machines. So far, they haven't had an accident, and they're saving millions of dollars. So that will spread across the other cities too, I'm sure. Yeah, you've all seen Teslas, of course, and the surge in electric vehicles. They're loaded with sensors. They can drive themselves. I own a Tesla, and it has the auto drive mode. I can summon the car, and it can come get me. It's real. I mean, the technology is there. This Rivian I'm bringing this example up because they're kind of the truck leader. You haven't heard much about them yet, but you will. They're launching these vehicles later this year. And that truck goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. It's got huge towing capacity, and it will be able to drive itself. Now, the reason I bring this up is because Amazon quietly invested $700 million in Rivian 2 years ago. And the reason for that massive investment was because obviously Amazon wanted to have some electric vehicles. They need delivery trucks. They need to reduce their emissions. It's part of their plan and requirements not to lower their carbon footprint. So here's, obviously Amazon's not going to drive a truck like this. The reason for their $700 million investment became obvious a few months ago Amazon, maybe it was only about 2 months ago, Amazon placed an order for 100,000 Rivian trucks. If you look at the bottom of that Prime van, it says powered by Rivian. So that's what an example of a future Amazon truck, 100% electric vehicle. 100,000 was the largest order, obviously, for electric vehicles ever. Now let's bring it back to real estate. And by the way, those trucks will deliver themselves too. They will, a lot of them will be self-driving. Meet the AI landlord. This is a company that is quietly accumulating tens of thousands of homes with the goal of eventually reaching 1 million homes in 15 years. They're acquiring single family residential homes. They're not flipping them. They're not an iBuyer. They're renting them out. They're actually targeting homes that are in the Midwest. So you may know of them. And they're in the Sun Belt in general. They're looking for homes where in neighborhoods where the average income is around $60,000 and the average rent payment for homes around $1,500. So that's their sweet spot, and they're buying hundreds of homes. Here's how they do it. They submit 1,400 purchase offers every day. This is across multiple cities. They access the MLS. They see the new listings. They fire in offers on 1,400 homes a day. They do that through a computer. The program's name is Discover. And about 10% of Discover's homes that he finds and puts, or the machine finds and puts an offer in on, are accepted. So they're buying about 140 homes a day on average and accumulating this mass portfolio. It's an interesting play. They've got a lot of money behind them, and you may have heard of Invitation Homes. That's another large home buyer owns tens of thousands of homes. The two executives that used to run Invitation Homes actually run Zillow offers now. We'll talk about Zillow in some more detail, of course, here today. But yeah, two guys with a lot of experience buying tens of thousands of homes are heading up Zillow's efforts to buy tens of thousands of homes. So iBuyers, which we'll dive in, is the focus of today's presentation, all depend on AI. The computers are making the offers. The more accurate the offers, the better. The data is showing out that their offers are generally in about the 2% range below market. They figure out the best they can what the true market value is for that home, and then their offers tend to fall in the 2 to 3% below it. Sometimes they're 2 or 3% over it. I mean, these are machines. Not all homes are equal. Not market conditions aren't equal. They overpay for homes occasionally. But the notion and the rumors that they're offering lowball offers and they're 10, 20% below market value is simply not true. It's been proven with thousands and thousands of offers that these offers are they're getting more accurate. They're very competitive. And again, their goal is to try to hit about 2% right below what they think it's going to sell for, which is common across most of these guys. So Phoenix was the epicenter of this. This is ground zero for iBuyers 5 years ago. Open Doors started it all. And then OfferPad came in right after them, and they're both based in Phoenix. Based in Phoenix largely because there's homogeneous properties. There's a lot of tract homes. The city's kind of built on a grid. There's a lot of areas where they can more accurately estimate the value of homes, and a lot of newer homes. Newer homes are easier to estimate the value on than obviously older homes that are very disparate. So the stunning news in all this is that in Phoenix, as of just last year, 40% of sellers are getting an offer from an iBuyer. And this is usually before they've contacted a realtor or before they've gone on Zillow and gotten his estimate. So this affects both you, real estate professionals, and Zillow, who is used to being first for the last almost decade for where consumers go to start kicking around and getting information. Zillow obviously entered the iBuyer game in defense because they were starting to lose their position. These guys were getting ahead of them in line, if that makes sense, for first touch. You know, he who gets first touch with somebody who's expressing intent in selling their home it's a valuable position to be in. So let's look at the transactions volume. You can see it's growing rather tremendously. It started in 2015, it went up, and 2017 there were 10,000 transactions, almost 30,000 in 2018, and 60,000 last year. That's a pretty rapid growth path, and it's continuing. We certainly expect to see that double again this year. Here's breaking down by the leaders in the categories. Open Door doubled. They're the largest, and as you can see, Open Door had more transactions than all the rest of them put together. And there's several others, but these are just the 4 illustrated here. Zillow, not surprisingly, really poured on the gas and grew at 1,200%. Well, that's a small number they started with, but you can see where their growth rate is. And there's some breaking news today that I'll share with you in a minute on Zillow. And OfferPad grew steady. I mean, 40%, 43% year-over-year growth is healthy growth and sustainable, and they're trying to get to profitability versus losing money. And Redfin's percentage was high, but again, based on very small numbers. So the market share over the last 2 years, you can see Open Door and OfferPad in 2018 collectively had most of the market. 95% or so of the market was 2 companies. Zillow only had 3%. Zillow made the biggest move. Last year they moved up to 18%. And you can see they just nipped OfferPad. So right now, today, it would appear that Zillow quickly moved into the number 2 position in terms of number of transactions. That's through spending a ton of money and a big investment, but it shows what I and many other people predicted was that Zillow was the one to watch last year because they already had a few advantages. They got a lot of traffic on their website for consumers, so they can acquire leads for people who want to get a price on their home, an offer on their home. They can acquire those much cheaper than Open Door or OfferPad because they have to run TV ads to do that and create that awareness, whereas Zillow already has consumer eyeballs. So just for a review, because you may have heard different things here, but this is a synopsis of how most iBuyers work. Okay, their revenue comes from 2 sources: a service fee and any increase in value or appreciation during the period which they own the home. Now, they don't want to own the home very long, but they usually sell it for more than they bought it for because they also fix it up a little bit. So the service fee ranges from 6 to 10%. Let's call it 7 or 8% is sort of the average. That's what we see most of the time. So that's a little more than typical real estate commissions, but then they're paying out commissions as part of their transaction as well. And then ultimately they sell the house for a few points more. Let's say they get 5% more than they paid for the house because they bought it 1% below market and they put some paint and lipstick on it and fixed it up a little bit and owned it for a couple months and sold it at 4, 5, 6% higher. That's considered a successful transaction. It's a very low margin business. Some of you have seen numbers, I'm sure, where Zillow's unit volume, for example, is how it's referred to, is they lose money on every single home. But that's changing. Open Door being the jumbo, again, the biggest, the first. Their reviews, if you look at the center on the bottom there, it says 4.5 out of 5 stars. They get great ratings. Consumers like them. They love the experience. They tell other people about it. They have thousands of testimonials and thousands of very satisfied customers who sold their house to Open Door and had very little hassle involved with it and moved on. They raised a ton of money, as you can see, $4.3 billion. They're in 22 markets and growing. They'll be adding another 10 markets or so this year. So they're continuing to expand their business. And one of the most important things was interesting they did a brand study 2 years ago when they were pretty young, but had interviewed several thousand people that had used Open Door. Their brand rating, their experience and satisfaction was on par with Netflix and Apple. So Open Door users thought the company was as good as Apple and Netflix. That's about as high as you can get in a brand rating and satisfaction. So Open Door is doing something right for sure. So here's an interesting thing to look at. It's kind of hard to see the fine print there, but they had 572,000 offers requested last year. But more importantly, that's one every 60 seconds. A homeowner requests an offer on Open Door. That's a lot. I'm going to pull up a couple of stats here. I found this real interesting. Here's 5 fun facts about Open Door. Open Door homes were visited 1.5 million times in 2019. That's 5,000 home visits a day, 7 days a week. Mobile app makes it easy to unlock the front door and self-tour the homes anytime between 6 to 9 a.m. 7 days a week, no appointment necessary. Fact number 2, we saved home sellers over 1.4 million hours of stress. I don't know how they came up with that number, but they certainly, the people that liked them certainly saved some time. Number 3, we infused over $132 million into local small businesses. I know they paid out over $100 million in commissions to realtors last year. And of course, they have a fleet of contractors, painters, landscapers, and so on in every city they go into. So they're fixing up the homes, obviously. Fact number 4, they used 298,000 gallons of paint to get homes market ready. That's a lot of paint. Put it in perspective, that's enough to paint the San Francisco Golden Bridge 30 times over. And if you're wondering what color they use, they said that their go-to hue is Sherwin-Williams Agreeable Gray. I guess that's a light gray that's very agreeable. And number 5, we put down 984,718 yards of carpet. So almost 1 million yards of carpet were laid in those Open Door houses. That's a lot of homes and a lot of home improvement. Offer pad, again, was number 2, a little bit smaller, a little more focused, I think, than Open Door. But they're doing quite well and expanding, adding new cities each year too. I have a video here from OfferPad. I'm not going to play it for time's sake. I think we'll skip over it. If you go to YouTube and just Google, you see the name of the title there, Selling to OfferPad, how it works. Just go to YouTube and put in OfferPad and you'll see a whole bunch of videos. They're their commercials that I see every day in Las Vegas and Phoenix, where I live. And but this one, you know, they'll actually explain step by step how it works. And I think you're getting the picture, but if you want to see it in more detail, worth watching. Now let's get to the fastest moving one and the one that's most likely to hit Indianapolis first, right? From what I understand, and it seems that Zillow probably will be the first iBuyer to land its ships on your shore, and already has obviously premier agents in your market that are somewhat, you know, Zillow's boots on the ground to end up getting the listings from Zillow Offers. But here's how they are: skip the hassle, sell to Zillow. In every market that Zillow has Zillow Offers up and running, every single listing, when you're looking at it in Houston or Phoenix or wherever, there's a big button right there that says get an offer on your house. So you're a consumer and you're just, you know, scrolling around Zillow like looking at homes, and there's everywhere you go, there's a button saying get a free offer on your house. So that's how they're acquiring a lot of these offers. Last year at our workshop, we had a representative from Zillow, and he said they were getting an offer every 5 minutes. Now, I can imagine this year they're going to tell me next week is our workshop again, and two representatives from Zillow are going to be interviewed. I think they're going to be getting close to an offer every minute, like we saw from Open Door. That's a lot of leads because these are people that are expressing some kind of interest in getting an offer on their house. So as you might imagine, Zillow they can lose money on every house they sell because of the leads that they're gathering. I'll explain that. So the leads get sent out to Zillow Premier agents in the markets that they're active. And these agents can, in most cases, are working with a flex pricing plan where there's a referral. So instead of paying tens of thousands or 20 of thousands of dollars for certain zip codes, they're paying on a flex basis. So that means a 30-35% referral fee. So they're generating tens of thousands of leads a month. That number is going to go way up here in this year, of course. And here's a crazy table that was on Inman News, but I'll show you how this number comes about. I did some math myself. I think it's real easy for Zillow to get to 50,000 referrals as early as this year. If not this year, certainly by next year. So if they get 50,000 referrals and average $3,000, they're 35% of the commission of the side, is around $3,000 on a $300,000 price, priced home, which is about average for them. That's $150 million in 1 year in income. They also have a mortgage company. If they captured half of the mortgages and got $2,500 for the loan origination, that's another $62 million in revenue. So that's how I came up with the numbers. These are from Inman showing the potential for this being $1 billion business someday. But I think it can be a $200 million business for them this year, which is real money. That's a high profit margin money too. So there's Zillow's roadmap. I didn't see a dot on there for Indianapolis, but they have announced it somewhere that they're coming to your neighborhood, and they're probably going to. It looks like they're well on track. They're already in 23 markets. They predicted they'd be in 26 markets this year. They'll be in 30 or 40 markets this year by the end of the year. And this is fresh. This is this morning. This was on the news this morning. Their iBuyer revenue was way up. Their total company revenue was up 158% year over year from Q4. What it says lower down in this article, if you want to read it, it's on Inman, is that they still lost $101 million in the fourth quarter. So the revenue surged, but they're still losing money. And losing $101 million in a quarter may sound like a lot, but it's actually a little less than they lost in the same quarter the year before. So their iBuyer revenue is booming, and their stock was up. I looked just a few minutes before this call, was up over $12 a share today, or up 21%. Zillow stock went up 21% today because of this earnings report. So interesting. Again, a lot of the analysts are a little bit skeptical because they, how often can you have unit economics where you lose $4,500 on every house you buy? You can't make that up in volume. Your losses just get bigger, right? But when you're picking up a mortgage and picking up a referral on it and refining that learning, it happens. And in this quote, Rich Barton, who's the fellow in the picture, he was the founder of Expedia, if you remember that. He said that every house we buy puts another piece of data into the machine. They're feeding the machine. It's getting smarter. That's how he referred to it. And so they're apparently quite confident they'll get to making money. Redfin, is a broker, but often thought of as a portal by people. They're offering a home sale without the headache. They're expanding. They're not in a lot of markets yet, but it appears that they're getting serious. They kind of dabbled in it for a year or two, but they're entering new markets and certifying their agents and starting to make offers. And so here you have to ask yourself a question. as a real estate professional, what do you want to do? Do you want to partner with an iBuyer? Do you want to fight back and combat them? Or do you want to flee? I mean, one option is this is getting too crazy, and even though it's a small percentage of the total number of transactions, it is growing very fast. So here's an example of partnering, right? Keller Offers is a partnership with OfferPad. So KW is not actually putting up the money to buy the house. OfferPad is, and OfferPad knows how to do it. They know how to make the estimates. They know how to get the paint on the house and the lawn mowed, and they know how to get it back on the market with a Keller Williams agent. And Keller is certifying their agents in this process and positioning them as a fiduciary, guiding them through the various options or various offers. So a lot of people are starting to take this attitude of, it's just another offer. I'm a realtor, I'm a professional, I'm going to give them the best advice, I'm going to show them every offer I can get them, and we'll take this into consideration. But I'm hearing more and more people embrace this and just say, hey, it's just another offer, let's deal with it. And consult to our clients the way we always have. Realogy was on the sidelines there for a while, but has gone in and partnered with Home Partners of America, a mortgage company, to create a product called RealSure, like it's a sure buy or sure sell, I guess, for the seller. So they make the seller a cash offer like iBuyers do, but they try to, I don't know if this is 100% of the time, but they kind of package it with a, let us market your home for 45 days. Here's your cash offer. We'll offer you $300,000 for your house. But we'd like to market it for 45 days to get you an even better offer. If after 45 days we haven't done better, at least you know you have what your offer is and you can move on. The mortgage company makes this possible, including the power to make a cash offer to the seller. So the seller's moving over to a $450,000 house. They're going to be able to go in there and make a cash offer on the $450,000 house before they sell their house. So that's pretty appealing because it makes them obviously more competitive. And this is creating kind of a new category called cash light iBuyers. They're not really buying the homes, they're partnering with someone who's putting up the cash. And several other brokers are doing something similar. EXP recently announced late last year that they're doing it, and they're doing it with a partner. And you're going to see more and more of this, I think, where everybody's coming up with a solution to minimize the iBuyers or keep them in check and have an option of your own to present them with. Now, getting more granular, these are a couple of guys in Phoenix that, again, where they've had to compete with iBuyers for 5 years now, and just inundated. You watch TV and you absolutely see an iBuyer ad all the time. So everybody in Phoenix knows what iBuyers are. So this guy, his name is Davey. He's a top producer for HomeSmart. I think he sold over 15,000 homes. He says, say no to investors and their lowball offers. Why would you give your equity away to an investor? He's taking a little hard stance on them, saying that they're not making fair offers, they're lowball offers. And he has a solution. The no investor $10,000 program. He'll lend you $10,000 for home improvements or upgrades, 0% down, 0% interest. You settle up at closing. And he'll send the painters over. He has a crew, of home improvement guys that he'll send over to do the appropriate work and fix that broken window or whatever it takes to get the house better. And so this is for people who maybe have the equity but just don't have the cash to fix up their home or necessarily want to risk that. So what do you think Davey's getting from this besides giving out a few loans? I think Davey's getting a lot of leads. He's advertising this program, consumers inquire about it, and he either gets the listing or he doesn't, but he's got attracting people with this $10,000 free loan, interest-free loan, and giving them an alternative to those low ball investor offers, right? Here's another guy in Arizona, Doug Hopkins. He's saying get a free offer on your home. Looks just like you're on an iBuyer start screen or homepage. Skip the hassle of months in selling your home. No repairs, no showings, uncertainty, or unexpected expenses. Get your offer. Doug has been on TV. He was on Property Wars, and kind of a semi-famous guy, I guess, in the West. But interesting, he's running a crew of 75. He's running a team of 75 agents, mostly scattered throughout Arizona in smaller markets. So he's got an interesting team model to begin with. But he's obviously got some investors behind him, and I don't think this is all his personal money. But again, when he's advertising and running his own ads, he's getting a lot of listings. He doesn't always buy the house, right? He'll make him an offer, but he'll say, why don't we list it, try for a month and see if we can get a better offer. So a couple of examples from big companies partnering with existing iBuyers, like KW partnering with OfferPad, down to Doug Hopkins partnering with a couple local lenders and buying a few houses and doing the same thing on a much smaller scale, a much more local scale. In small towns he's doing this in small towns where there are no iBuyers. So interesting. And then I'm going to end this with the latest trend that I've seen. And at Inman in New York City, I bet there were a half a dozen of these guys. And if you look around, you'll see there's over a dozen of them. There are companies that are making it possible for cash offers. So in this case, this HomeLight, which you've probably seen their ads, they run on national TV. They help you find the best agent, the most qualified agent, the top producer in your neighborhood. That was HomeLight's sole model. They raised over $100 million just to be a referral source to top quality agents in your neighborhood. They now have a trading program, where you can actually get a price for your house, a trade-in value on your house, like a car. And the HomeLight Cash Offer is a second program they have that enables you to pre-qualify through their mortgage partner so that you can go out and make cash offer and get the best spot, the strongest offer, the strongest chance of getting your new home without contingencies. As a matter of fact, their motto, their slogan is, we are trying to eliminate all contingencies in the real estate transaction, remove all friction, make it smooth, seamless. And there's other companies promoting all electronic payment now, so no more wire fraud. You get your commissions electronically, no more checks, no more wire fraud. There's several companies that are jumping on that bandwagon in the last year, or especially it seems like it accelerated towards the end of the year. But again, cash closes and electronic settlements and all that stuff is the holy grail for a lot of people to do end-to-end transactions online, paperless. Will it ever happen? I don't know. We're still not there, but we're getting parts of it. And again, hundreds of millions to billions of dollars being invested in real estate tech and property tech right now. Some of it to help you, and some of it targeted at realtors and simplifying the transactions and reducing commissions. So it's interesting technologies right now. So that's the end of my conclusion on iBuyers. And if you want to ask any questions, if we have time, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah, do you have time for a couple of questions? No hands in the room, really? Hey, I had to step out for a moment. Did you mention, I believe I heard you talk about a company called Knock. Were they part of your?
I didn't include them today.
That's okay.
But I can certainly.
Yeah, can you do a real brief one? Because that was a model I had not ever heard of before. And I think it's an interesting sort of different approach to the iBuyer business model.
Yeah, Knock is, and I have the slides hidden here. I just, for time's sake, I was trying to focus on a few other things. Knock is in Atlanta. They were started in Atlanta. The Jamie Glenn and Sean Black, two of the guys that started Trulia. So they know the online space well. They raised a bunch of money, and they started a iBuyer program, but they really went heavy with the trade-in model. Their offer is trade in your house to us. Come to knock, we'll assign you to a realtor. We'll go out and find you the new house. You'll work with one of our realtors on staff, and we'll find your new house, and we'll buy that new house for you. We'll fix it up, what you need done, and we'll keep keep accounting for the cost, of course. Then you move into the new house, and don't worry about your old house. We'll take care of that. We'll go in once you've moved out, clean it up, fix it up, paint it or whatever, sell it, and then we'll settle up with you. Now, interestingly, OfferPad, not OfferPad, Open Door. If you look at Open Door's website, they're using the word trade-in now, and several others are using the word trade-in. So it's a slightly different spin on the model. Knock is growing slowly right now, but they're alive and they're still a player out there. But again, it's a little different spin on it, which is the ultimate convenience. It's a trade-in, and that's what you just saw in that last slide, HomeLight. They stole that right out of Knock's playbook.
Mm-hmm. All right, interesting. Oh, I do have a couple of questions. I'll get John here.
So what happens when the market starts to slide south? I mean, all these new business models have come in during a wonderful increasing market. Do you think a lot of them are going to get stuck?
Could you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that question, and it's a great question. I've heard it since the first time the iBuyers were mentioned 5 years ago. And so realistically, we haven't had a real bad real estate market in the last 5 years, have we? And so your question is spot on. These companies have 2 or 3 things protecting them. One is because they have tons of PhD data scientist guys doing all these market analytics in each market they're in. They have risk managers. They've got, again, PhD mathematicians that are risk managers. So they're watching their inventory, their supply, if you will, their buy rate, and they can turn that up or down anytime they want. Now, if they smell something's going to go bad in Phoenix, if the data is starting to indicate that there's too much inventory or potential decrease in price, they will slow or stop their buying, and they will increase their selling by discounting a little bit. So they can move a lot of homes and adjust their inventory. And the worst case scenario, they can be that AI landlord where they take their 3,000 homes, if they have that many, and put renters in most of them. So I think they are very, and one of the interesting quotes was last year, the head of, the CEO of Open Door said, the biggest learning for us this year was that our model works in up markets and down markets. I don't know what down market he was referring to, but somewhere in their 22 cities, they must have had a flat market or a down market, and they were buying and selling homes just as well.
I got another question over here.
Mr. Larson, what do you see in the future for blockchain technology in terms of facilitating transactions and the transfer of title, and perhaps how mortgage lending occurs today? It seems like there might be some possibilities for eliminating the middle persons in those types of transactions. Is anybody working on that?
The question was generally about blockchain, title, mortgage, how it's being used. Okay.
Where you see the future of the blockchain technology and the real estate transaction?
Sure. I think the one everybody referred to initially, and one of the better fits for blockchain would be in the title process, the non-repudiation, as they call it. The blockchain solves the problem with bad data, right? And it's, as far as, there's several people who tried to inject it into the MLS industry. The Toronto Real Estate Board right now is looking at computer software, and one of the things that they're requiring in their RFP or their requirements is that the system be blockchain enabled. So John D. Michelle, who's the CEO of the Toronto Real Estate Board, a good friend of mine. I did a lot of consulting for them over the last 20 years. He's a blockchain nut. He really believes in the future of it, and he's maybe the first one in MLS to actually utilize blockchain. There's just been there was a ton of hype around blockchain a couple of years ago, and hundreds of millions of dollars invested in it. You don't hear as much about it today as you did 2 years ago. At least not, I'm not hearing as much, at least not in residential real estate. Financial institutions, every bank in the world is spending millions and millions of dollars a year on blockchain. We'll be involved in mortgage lending, of course. But right now, the real estate transaction itself, I don't know that there's any huge problem it's solving other than eventually on the title side, of course, we'll have 100% accurate title records if they're using blockchain.
Greg, thank you so much for your time today. I know we went a few minutes over, but I really appreciate you joining in.
Thanks for having me, Indy. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.